So now we're going to bring the impact a little closer to home. So the 4 people that you are about to meet are all Columbus residents. Some were born and raised here, and they're all making an impact in a way that you probably have seen before. You've probably been to their coffee shop or seen them on the street. And so now we'll get a chance to ask them a few questions. So if they could come out. Maybe. We'll see. Help them with a round of applause. You can sit here. You can sit next to me. Okay, so I'll go down the line and do a quick round of introductions. I have a few questions to ask them, but I would love to take any from the audience as well. So first we have Kenny Sipes. He founded the Roosevelt Coffeehouse. I'm sure a few of you have been there. So they are a nonprofit with a few causes that they focus on regularly. And then John Rush is from CleanTurn. They hire the previously incarcerated population to do demolition and construction, as well as commercial cleaning services. Nick Hirsch is from Coffee Crafters Academy. So he works in prisons in Columbus and is actually training currently incarcerated people to be baristas, to make coffee, and so that they could go out and either start their own coffee cart or work in a coffee shop. And Lily Vail is new to Columbus about 2.5 months ago. So she is working with Kiva Columbus. So they do micro-lending on an online platform. So we can give $25, and that $25 is compounded with other people's donations for 0-interest loans. Okay, now we have a good background. So to kick it off, what motivates you? Why are you doing what you're doing? And we can jump around. Don't all answer every question.
All right, I'll start. Y'all hesitated. I do what I do because I love people and I don't want to see people suffer. So the Roosevelt supports hunger, water, and anti-human trafficking initiatives through the profits of the shop. And so, you know, one of our mottos is basically nobody should starve to death, lack freedom, or have access to clean water that prevents waterborne diseases. So for us, you know, we're just trying to make coffee to make impact. And so for me, it's valuing lives motivates me to want to participate in helping people not suffer.
So I think as a country, we don't do a very good job of serving formerly incarcerated individuals well and preparing them for the transition from life inside the walls to outside. And so I'm just motivated and excited to be a part of trying something new, bringing a little bit of the business world inside the walls so that they can, while they're incarcerated, utilize that time to really work on the skills that will just be beneficial for them in the long run and help ease that transition a little bit.
I guess so. I'm sorry. I'll go next. So I think one thing that motivates me is with Kiva, the telltale phase, or what we say is dreams are universal, opportunities are not. And that's very true. I get really motivated when I get to work with a Kiva bar or a small business owner who's so passionate about what they want to do, a change they want to make, or just a project that they have, but they can't have the access to funds, or access to funds is not available in an easy way to them. So I'm just motivated by essentially their passion and my ability to at least try to help them out, to get a leg up, to get them on a path that they can then go on and succeed.
Aaron, great question. I'm wondering. Some days I don't really know what motivates me. Certain days I'm very clear on what motivates me. I think I love people. I love folks who have gone through some difficulties and have made a decision to, despite all those challenges, move forward in life and become what we call interdependently self-sufficient. And it's their stories that really drives me to live and to want to leave a legacy for my kids and for my community. So some days I feel, though, that my motives might be a little bit selfish and about me, and so I have to fight that. And sometimes I feel that they're genuine. But the question of motive is a very good question, a very complicated question, but a good one, yeah.
So now, can we talk more about Columbus? So I know you're newer to Columbus. Others have been here for a long time. So what challenges is Columbus facing, and how is your business directly addressing those?
For us, I mean, Columbus, it sits in, the middle of a state that incarcerates about 53,000 people per year at the cost of anywhere between $25,000 and $30,000 a year. And so there's a boatload of issues that relate to that. Franklin County is the second largest county behind Cuyahoga County, and Columbus obviously sits in Franklin County, to be the place where returning citizens are coming back to. And so the limited resources pre-incarceration, the limited resources while incarcerated, and the limited resources post-incarceration create this very challenging situation for seeing folks move forward. And so we're addressing primarily the employment piece. We do provide support services by funding that through our profit, but we have a very collaborative model where we work with about 60 nonprofit organizations, and of course the city and the county and the state. But it takes all three of those legs of the stool for it to work. But that's our primary issue that we're addressing.
Say the question again.
Columbus challenges and how you're addressing them.
For us, I would just say that I think some of the challenges might be in trying to figure out how culture functions, especially in the city. I'm a suburban dad, so some of the beauty of opening a space in Columbus has been the ability to see, and I'm sure Lily's seeing a lot of this right now, is how much synergy there is in Columbus, how supportive we are of each other. And so for us to kind of help create and move that in even further, the Roosevelt's kind of hopefully become a space where there's a lot of collaboration for impact. There's a lot of birth of social enterprise happening in the space because you can kind of walk in and usually communicate and connect with somebody who's doing that. And so it allows us to walk through all kinds of faith cultures and race cultures, and it's been, so hopefully we're creating this inclusive bed of impact because the space creates that.
Yeah, and I think I would just echo their comments. John spoke kind of to the opportunity, I guess, in terms of the prison population here in Ohio. There's 27 state prisons. We as an organization are in 4 of those. And so there's just a lot of opportunity and a lot of people incarcerated right now. And Columbus is a pretty unique city in that there's a lot of good people doing really good things. But I think there's a lot of potential to network and really build off of each other's strengths and work better together. And there's a lot of good organizations working to do that right now. And that's really exciting for me. I'm from Ohio. Recently moved back here from Seattle, Washington. And so there's just something about Central Ohio that drew me back. Aside from family. But it's just a really cool space and a lot of opportunity in the cities, in a place where individuals can still have a lot of leverage in terms of building the foundation for a really healthy and all-inclusive community in Central.
Nick, this is a humble guy. Like, this dude worked at Boeing and had a promising career at Boeing and just is super smart and decides to invest all of his talent, skills, and education in a space that needs that type of talent. And so that's the other cool thing about Columbus, I think, is there are a lot of smart people, and some of you, I know, I see in the crowd, I've seen you over the years do some really cool things. Is that Julie Clark? Did I see Julie Clark in the crowd somewhere? No, maybe not. You look like Julie Clark, the founder of Freedom a la carte, maybe not. But it's just neat to see, yeah, thanks. Anyways, go ahead, Lily. And I met Lily a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, sweet, we're like a magnet for amazingness. But anyways, I don't.
Yeah. I think Columbus is a really interesting place, and like Aaron said, I got here just under 3 months ago. I did not understand how intricate the community is here, and I think that is one of the benefits as well as one of the hurdles that I'm working with Kiva. Is saying that there is a lot of, the word on the street is potential. Columbus has all this potential, And for me, I'm trying to be very conscious this whole time while building the Kiva community, while making these resources accessible to make sure that's an inclusive community. And as we are working towards its potential, making sure that everyone has access and making sure everyone has access to that potential. And I think personally, I work with, just like they're saying, creating those connections, working with community organizations, working with microfinance development organizations, and making sure that I reach out to all the neighborhoods. But yeah, I think I'm doing it.
We can now open it up to the audience if anyone has any questions. In the back? Nick.
Hi. Yeah, that's a good question. So our model, it's not, coffee just happens to be a means to an end for us. For us, it's much more about bringing business challenges into a prison environment and leveraging those challenges to work on the more interpersonal skills. So how do you work well as a team? How do you resolve conflict well? How do you give constructive feedback? Like those soft skills that a lot of folks are lacking in that type of environment. And so coffee, we'd love, if people are super passionate about coffee, great. We'd love to have the relationships in the community, and we're continually working on those to send our graduates into those coffee shops or hire them on to our organization. But it's also placing them elsewhere where their passions may lie. It's not necessarily only coffee. So.
Yeah, to piggyback on that question, CleanTurn and Coffee Crafters and the Finance Fund and Increased CDC, 4 organizations here in town merged together to create an initiative within the prison system to take entrepreneurship training to inmates because, to your question, only so many folks are going to be baristas at CleanTurn, only so many folks are going to enter into the construction field. She has a name cleaning, only so many folks are going to enter the janitorial field. But if we can saturate the marketplace and at the same time equip aspiring entrepreneurs who may have practiced their entrepreneurship in very unique ways prior to incarceration that led to their incarceration, if they could kind of take those skills that they already have and put them towards positive goals and outcomes, we could see a significant impact. And so I think the neat thing about Coffee Crafters and CleanTurn is we're focused on the person and their skill set and helping them develop a career mindset or an entrepreneur mindset so they can move towards self-sufficiency. Yeah.
What other questions? Yes.
Situation now where I'm helping women become personal trainers and start personal training, like sort of studio business inside the prison, how to go about going to the next step. Now it's like once they're there, they were certified, and now when they're coming out, it's presenting the opportunity for people around as well. How do you go about funding those types of things?
Yeah, it depends on the structure of your organization. So if you're incorporated as a nonprofit, accessing grant public subsidies, of course, nonprofit or for-profit, there's always options like Kiva.
I was about to say, get a Kiva loan.
Tell us about Kiva. How's that work?
Well, Kiva is small business loans, but we also do loans to nonprofits. And it's a crowdfunding online resource. So you are able to access Kiva's website, fundraise for a loan, and you can go through an application. It depends on your background, your business, and everything, how much you'll get approved for. And we also do social underwriting rather than looking at your credit score or asking for collateral or looking at your revenue, because we want to make sure that people who don't have good credit scores for different reasons, they are still able to access these. Also, there's 0% interest. So then able to fundraise your loan, fundraise it within your community, fundraise it within the Kiva community, and then you are able to then pay it back without having kind of like a crippling interest rate on that.
And then certain situations like Coffee Crafters, right? You guys make money by
Yeah, so we,
Sign fee, yeah.
and like you said, it depends on how you're structured as an organization, but we're a social enterprise, so we actually sell the coffee inside the prisons to other staff, visitors, and residents of the institution. And so we're totally, we're self-sufficient in that regard. And we make a point to do that because we want to bring the folks we're working with on the inside into those business decisions. Like, how do we become more profitable as a cafe? How do we increase sales? And so we want the focus to be on efficiency and utilizing the dollars that we have as best we possibly can.
And in Chicago, our parent nonprofit, we chased after this large investment bank that's the evil bank of the world called Goldman Sachs. Just kidding. No, we did actually, though. And they provided us a small grant to cover startup costs, and we created a for-profit that was under the umbrella of the nonprofit. And so, one, is a way to diversify our funding streams so that we weren't entirely dependent on grants and philanthropy, knowing those dollars are limited, and we wanted those dollars to be strategically allocated in the community to meet needs that an earned income strategy couldn't meet. But the other purpose, because it was a workforce development organization, was to create a transitional job platform for participants in the workforce program who had higher obstacles to employment. And so the services that we sold through Clean Slate in Chicago served as a platform for us to be able to provide that transitional employment experience. CleanTurn, there were a group of philanthropic investors who saw the work in Chicago and said, hey, we'd love to do something like that here. And so that made it really easy, frankly, for me, because I just told them, look, if you got disposable income, you're going to give it away anyways. Why not invest it in this for-profit? If the business fails, you're going to get a business write-off. And so for the duration that it exists, it's going to have some type of social return. So what's the real risk? Oh, that's right, Rush. Cool. Here's some money. And so
He makes it look extremely easy. It probably is.
But Roosevelt, you guys are incorporated as...
We're a corporation. We're incorporated as a nonprofit. So we did fundraise from day one, and so we built all of our launch from selling people on the idea that we could. What was happening for us is we're pretty much a feeder to other nonprofits is more than anything else. We've also created this huge, built these relationships on this couch and others in the nonprofit world through the space, which was part of the deal. But we were just like, when I would go to fundraise, I just basically would say, hey, we're going to be working with this water organization. And they'd say, well, why wouldn't I give it to a water organization? And I'm a little snarky. So I would say, well, are you? And they would say, well, no. And I said, well, that's my point exactly. So we could create something where you could trust somebody who was working with organizations, making impact that was long-term and sustainable and effective, and we will help make that happen. And so we kind of build it from that. It was an interesting way to build capital. It was pretty stressful. But at the same time, for me, which I'm the last guy in the world as a sales guy, we had a couple significant donors that probably gave up to about 25% of what it took for us to launch the business. And the rest was, I'm telling you, $5 donations from college kids monthly on PayPal, and just little things that kind of created the momentum. And then, just kind of people started to tell the story. And for us, it's probably the prettiest picture of the nonprofit is just kind of like people feel like they have ownership in what we're doing, and we want them to feel like they have ownership in what we're doing.
Hundreds of books I could probably recommend. The Lean Startup, though, is one recently that I think would be a good book to tap into. And there's a lot of principles there that are applicable to any sector and any product or service-based initiative that you might be thinking about launching or scaling. The Lean Startup. The Lean Startup? Mm-hmm.
Let's take one more from the audience. I saw that hand pop up.
So Columbus is kind of globally known as a great place for a startup business, and that's in large part due to the Ohio State community. So I was wondering how you guys think OSU as a whole has affected your business.
Just ask that one more time.
So it was basically Columbus is known as a great place to start a business, mostly due to Ohio State. So how have you seen Ohio State affect the startup community?
From a social entrepreneurship standpoint, I mean, an event like this is a case in point for how amazing Ohio State is, the students that are at Ohio State. You have leaders like Aaron that are able to take what has been a student-led initiative for years and continue to make it a success. I have a staff member at CleanTurn, Annalise, who is like home run every day type person. I mean, it's just amazing. So from my personal experience in the social entrepreneurship space, we have a population of students within OSU who not only are very focused on getting a great education, being the smartest students in the world, et cetera, but also have a passion for making an impact. And so it's not just about, hey, how can I get a good job and make a lot of money or, et cetera. It's, how can I take care of myself, maybe my future family, but also have a really strong impact. And that has been a very cool experience for me. I've only been here for 5 years, moving from Chicago. That I think sets us apart from other university-centric urban areas.
Yeah, and I think Ohio State is a huge resource in terms of talent, obviously. But I just want to be an encouragement because a lot of you are thinking about the next step right now. And there are viable career paths in the social entrepreneurship space. Like, you don't have to take the traditional, like, corporate America. You're at a point in your life where you can take on a little more risk, and I would just encourage you to do that. Financial risk, it's okay to get paid a little less and have, and be more passionate about what you're doing, because in the long run, I think that serves you yourself better and the community that you're a part of. So,
I could go on and on about this. We actually wanted to launch an Ohio State campus and didn't have any brand identity, so I'll keep it there. So we ended up, we're like a block and a half from CCAD in Columbus State, and the majority of the students that come into our shop are from Ohio State. And out of that has come some pretty incredible things. We got adopted by the Ohio State Public Relations class in their senior capstone project, and 7 groups of students had to create a public relations campaign for us, some of which we've adopted and put into action. And we've actually hired a girl out of there that is creating our annual report. We are currently in a project with the Ohio State Fisher Business School where they're doing a 6 Sigma project on systems to make us more effectively financially solvent so that we can have more impact in the long run. Just got adopted by some sorority or fraternity, I can't remember, but they're going to create a human trafficking initiative out of what we're doing. We also worked with the Department of International Affairs, Student Affairs here, and they were working with some different things, immigration project, and with us, they worked with the human trafficking project, created an awareness campaign, and so for us, that relationship's been awesome because I think we branded well. Our message speaks well to a millennial, and so their desire to kind of want to be a part of it more than they are is exactly what we wanted to create, and it's happening. And out of that, one of the public relations, the group that I chose, the winner of, actually put her in touch with a local marketing firm here in town to kind of create some momentum for her because she was such a great deliverer, and that's providing fruit for her because she graduates in May. So for us, it's been a coup, and that relationship's been great, and it's been fascinating that it happened that way.
I think for me is I don't have enough experience here yet to really give you a solid answer. But to piggyback off a little bit what they said is I've been extremely impressed with the social entrepreneurship program here. Being able to work with Aaron, being able to meet with Judy. The amount of support that youth receives, also that youth are then able to relay that within their community is amazing. It is so cool. And just coming from Kiva, where we really want to make sure that people have access to those resources, that people have the support that they need, I love it. I'm impressed with OSU's presence here. But as for relationship with Kiva, I'm still understanding what that means.
There's a Ohio State University Federal Work Study program. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but basically you can work up to 20 hours a week for a nonprofit. So what happens is you can work for, like my promotions guy, Josh out there right now, has worked for me the last year. Ohio State pays him out of that federal work study program, and I'm able to schedule him 20 hours to coordinate and run all of our promotions events. So if you've never seen that, I think if you just Google Ohio State Federal Work Study Program, you can find a list of hundreds of jobs that are in the local community for nonprofits looking for help, and then you would actually get paid, and you can, I don't even think you have to use it towards your education, but you should, but if you don't, you get a little paycheck.
I was just going to mention, I can't remember his name, but one of the students that heads up one of the philanthropic groups here on campus who plans to transition over to P&G. If you choose to go the large corporate route, it doesn't mean you can't have an impact within that organization. So whether you choose to go that route or not choose to go that route, you can be an entrepreneur in an organization like that and help it in the DNA of that organization, help the DNA become more aware of social issues and be part of the change within that organization over time. And so it's easy for us to be overly critical about all of the problems. And the people that end up having the impact are the ones that are able to take it to the next step. Yes, understand the issues, yes, have a critical eye, but second, how do we create solutions that actually have an impact? There won't be a perfect panacea for all of the social issues, and so we could fuss and complain and critique all day long, but what are we doing to take it to the next step and have an impact wherever it is that we feel we're being led? And so it doesn't mean you have to go the nonprofit route or the small micro enterprise route to make an impact, to make a change.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Just one second. I think some of these problems are so complex that we need holistic solutions that incorporate corporate America, nonprofits, social enterprises, small business owners. It's going to take all of us working together to do that. And if you are curious about how to best leverage corporate resources for good, like I'm more than happy to talk to you because I have some experiences in trying to do that at Boeing. So it is needed and is essential to solve some of these issues, for sure.
Okay, I'll ask one more, and then we need to wrap up for lunch. But what comes next for you, your organization? What should we expect to see?
For us, we have a dream to be a roaster. So if you're not familiar with the coffee industry itself, so you usually serve some type of branded coffee. We serve Stumptown out of Portland, Oregon, and then we also serve One Line Coffee locally. The roaster is a whole nother world. And so it wasn't something we wanted to launch without ever having opened a coffee experience. But now that we've branded well, Columbus Underground Reader Survey just voted us number one shop in the city. We feel like we have some momentum that we can move in that territory next. So speaking of colleges, the Otterbeins Master's Program this summer is going to take our project on to create, whether we're discussing whether we want to put the roaster under the nonprofit itself and continue in that realm, or make it a for-profit that helps fund the private foundation and give it a little more freedom to do some other things. But it will give us, it'll cut my coffee costs by $175,000 potentially in 3 years. So there's some real advantages to us doing that. So that would be the next step. It won't happen tomorrow, but we're moving toward.
Our primary focus is twofold right now. One, we are looking at taking a community adoption approach to our model, moving our business operations into a distressed community so that we can become very intentional about being an economic resource there. We've hit the point where we're generating about $3 million a year and $25 million in economic value across Central Ohio, but if we could concentrate that economic impact into one community that's distressed and look at some of the vacant housing within that community as a resource for our staff. We've employed a little over 500 people over the last 4 years, and so how do we take a community approach, and then secondly, how do we standardize our operations so that we have a franchisable model, because we'd like to take what we're doing here in Columbus and replicate it by 2020 in 20 other cities across the country, and so we'd love to see that take place, and so that's our twofold focus right now.
Yeah, for coffee crafters, we've kind of hit the pause button on our growth for the past year and probably for another year or so, because we've spent a lot of time standardizing what we're currently doing and really understanding the impact that we're having and making sure we're having the impact we want to have. And so a lot of resources a lot of my time has been put into just developing more of a mentoring model, more of like a personal development plans for our graduates, whether it's inside, working on that plan, meeting with them one-on-one, going through some of their really specific issues and obstacles that they're facing and carrying that through their transition and when they get out here, and having a network of folks in the community, because we can't do it all ourselves as more graduates start coming out. And so it's developing some connections in the community to build a strong network, a supportive environment for our graduates to really flourish and get the connections and support that they need. And we're currently in 4 prisons, and there's 27 in Ohio. And so we have to really figure out a way to standardize a lot of what we're doing so that we can scale efficiently and not kill ourselves in the process. So we're working on building a solid core team and kind of looking at what that could look like moving forward.
The next step with Kiva, I think, is just to continue what we're doing, making sure that the platform is accessible to entrepreneurs, as well as really solidifying our, the Kiva step on Columbus's capital ladder. So collaborating with other, like with the finance funds, with increased CDC, with ECDI, and making sure that there's a robust economic ecosystem here. So yeah.
Can you have Lily tell us a joke before lunch?
So I've been telling jokes all morning. I'm not funny, like at all. If Lily
But
has a
Lily's
joke,
funny.
Lily's actually funny.
Wait, which one should I say?
Come on, bring
Which one?
I don't really care. Whatever makes you happy,
Tell
Lily.
the pirate one.
Oh. Okay.
It's the most appropriate, believe it or not.
She'll find it funny if you don't.
I'll laugh. I'll try to take the microphone away from myself. So what does everybody have and pirates and thieves want? Anybody? I'm sorry, what? Yeah, the booty.
With that, she needs to take off her microphone because she's gonna laugh for probably 20 minutes. These 4 have been amazing mentors, friends, role models in my time in court. That's it. Thank you. Okay, you guys get off stage.
We'll take Lily back now.
Oh my God. Okay, with that, I think we all could use a lunch break. We'll be back at 2 o'clock.